Oh, okay, we will try again. Sorry for the little problem. I had a little difficulty to connect, but thank you for joining the class. Thank you for attending. Maybe this is your first time. We have some people new today. Brazilians in Dublin, Brazilians in Porto, Spanish in Dublin, and people from Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia. So thank you very much for joining today for your first class. Also to other people who normally attend every day, so thank you very much to everybody for attending, and also for people that watch the video repeated. So welcome to the class. It's Monday, so the start of the week. Maybe you need some coffee and you need some energy to begin. Sorry, I had a little problem with the Facebook Live at the beginning, so we're a little late, but no problem. Okay, so the structure of the class is very similar from normal. At the beginning, I give an introduction to the grammar. It's very important at the beginning, the concepts, to explain the concepts of grammar, number one. After the introduction, I have a book. We will analyze a book. And after the book, we have a little video. And also, it's possible to participate with speaking. Okay, so first, I apologize if you do not understand me. I am very sorry if it's difficult to understand me. I understand English is very difficult, but I hope you can understand me, and I hope everything is clear. The subtitles and captions are available on Facebook. If you want to select the subtitles and captions, you can read my comments, and maybe that's a good way to understand me better. Okay. So this is my plan. So here you can see the classes might be difficult. It's a big possibility that the class is difficult because learning English is difficult. For Instagram, taking pictures is very easy. Promoting speaking is very easy, but the class is possible very, very difficult. And also it's a difficult moment this year, this time, because of the pandemic. We have a lot of people who lost a job, who are changing careers, who maybe are in difficult situations financially. So obviously it's a very difficult year for everybody, and this is one reason to help with the classes, because I know English is very important for you. Maybe you have travelled to Ireland, maybe you have travelled to England particularly to learn English, and maybe it's very difficult for you and very hard. So my objective is to try to help, particularly to understand conversation and to understand native people and to understand, native speakers, because sometimes it's extremely difficult. Okay, so yes, also I hope the connection with the internet is okay. I hope we have no problems with technology, with the computer, or distractions. In the house here, we have 6 people and a baby, so we have a lot of people at home, and it's possible sometimes distraction or interruption. And of course my dog, I have a dog in the garden, and it's possible sometimes you can hear the dog. Okay, so here's a picture of the dog, and sometimes he is very loud and he's very close, so hopefully that's not a big problem today, but that's life. Okay, so your objective, what is your objective? I think your objective, of course, is to understand conversation, to understand native speakers, and to understand everybody. That's your objective. Okay, it's very, very hard to learn English, and also economic possibilities. Your objective is to find the best way that is economic and good value. So that's another of your objectives. Okay, maybe you want to know native speakers, you want to speak with people socially, maybe for your job, maybe for academics. It's necessary. English is very important for you. Okay, my objective, for me, it's a very good opportunity to work, because I stopped working in May, and finally I have a little space, and hopefully I can continue working from here. So for me, it's a very good opportunity to work and to grow and to meet people and to promote my project. So for me, I am very happy, and it's a very good opportunity. Everything is free, but at the end, if you want to make a small contribution or a small donation, that's possible to support me at the end. but it's only optional. Okay, so here is the agenda. You can see here, I'm going to just show you. Also, we have the possibility to participate. So during the class, if you want to participate with practice speaking, there is an option here with Zoom. So during the class, there's the possibility to participate if you want to connect with Zoom or if you want to connect by Skype. I saw, I think Kathy has connected already. So Kathy, we will wait for a little while and hopefully we can connect with you and practice some speaking. Because for me, it's a very good opportunity to practice with you, and I can help and correct and show everybody some little improvements or some advice or some tips. So I encourage and I suggest that you connect to the class and we can practice some speaking during the class. Maybe 1, 2 or 3 people to have a little debate. Okay, so that's possible. There's the meeting ID for Zoom and the name for Skype is admeliora1. Okay, so they are the possibilities. The agenda and the plan for today is the introduction document first. Okay, after the introduction I have a book. So this book is very, very interesting. It's a sport related book, but if you do not like sport, do not worry, because the vocabulary and the expressions in the book are really interesting and very, very conversational, and I am sure the vocabulary and the expressions will be a benefit and very good for you. So today we have analysed maybe 1 page or 2 pages of the book, and I can show you some expressions and some vocabulary. So it's very interesting, and after the introduction we will check the book. Okay, after the book we have a video from a telenovela in England. It's a very popular series or soap in England. The name is Emmerdale, and it's based in Leeds or in Yorkshire, so the accent is very typical from England and from Yorkshire in the north of England, and it's only 2 minutes of the video. So I show you the video, and also after we analyze the vocabulary and we analyze the expressions. Okay, so that's a possibility. Another possibility is some exercises from grammar and speaking, and then phrasal verbs and idioms. Okay, they are all possibilities for today. Okay, and here I will write my notes for the class, but first I'm going to share the screen and then I'm going to give you the introduction document, because the introduction document in my opinion is maybe the most important. And every morning this document is introduced, and every morning this is very important. Some people are very familiar with this document, but for the new people this is a very important document. This is the introduction and the foundation and the base of the important concepts and the most technical concepts in English. Okay, because the language, the structure, we have a lot of technical vocabulary. For example, phrasal verb, idiom, past perfect, present continuous, substantive, adjective, adverb, modal verbs, prepositions. So at the beginning it's necessary I explain the concepts a little, because during the class I mention and I speak about the concepts a lot. So it's very, very important to learn English. You need to be very familiar with the concepts and the technical terms. It's so important. Okay, some advice, my recommendation to really improve English, it's a good idea to understand your own language. So if you speak Portuguese, if you speak Spanish, if you speak French, I recommend that you really understand the structure and the technical vocabulary in French, Spanish, Portuguese. It's a very good idea to understand your own language first and understand English next. It's a big, big help. Okay, that's a big piece of advice. Okay, so the first section is use of English. The second section are the tenses or the times, and the third section is just grammar concepts and grammar ideas. Okay, so the use of English, for me we have accents, phrasal verbs, idioms, and conversation and pronunciation. They are the most important. Accents, in Ireland we have a particular accent, and for me it's possible I have some strong accents in relation to the U. For example, Dublin, butter, bus. So it's possible the accent is very, very strong for me with the U. Maybe incorrect is Dublin, butter, bus. It's very strong. and phonetically correct is maybe Dublin, butter, bus. So be careful a little with the U, because for me that's a possibility very strong. Also the TH is possibly phonetically this, that, Thursday, those. It's like a Z in Spanish, but for me and in Ireland it's like a D. So the TH is a big possibility of a phonetic issue in Ireland for pronunciation. The TH in Ireland is like a D, but phonetically that's not the same in the book. Okay, and the other possibility is the O or the OU. For example, house. Sometimes the accent is very strong in relation to these letters. But of course, an accent in London, an accent in the United States, an accent in New Zealand, Canada, Australia, we have lots of different accents, and it's very difficult to really learn, and it's a big difficulty when you learn English. So accents are really important and very difficult. The concept of phrasal verbs are so important. So I'm just going to make this screen a little bit bigger so you can see. One moment, because I want to increase the size. Phrasal verbs are very, very important, and in English we have a lot of phrasal verbs. Basically, the concept of the phrasal verb is a verb and a preposition. It's possible literal significance, but it's also possible a second or a double significance. Okay, and one example is to come across. So the verb to come, everybody I think understands come and go. Come and the preposition across. Okay, so it's literal. Come across the road, number one, literal. But number two, it's a second and completely different significance, to find unexpectedly or to find suddenly. So the same example, I am cleaning my room. Every morning I clean my room and I come across a book. So come across has the significance to find unexpectedly. And we have a list, a long list of phrasal verbs, and they are so common and so important in conversation with family, in conversation with friends, informal, formal. Phrasal verbs are fundamental and very important. In movies, in series, we use phrasal verbs all the time. So they are very important, okay, and a big part to really learn English. The next section are idioms. So idioms are like expressions, and again we use idioms all the time in conversation, in movies, in series, in formal situations, informal situations, professional, business. We use idioms, expressions all the time, and they, again, we have a big list of idioms, and it's important to be familiar with a lot of idioms. And one example is a brain drain, which is difficult and advanced. So the brain is the part in the head for the intelligence, and the verb to drain is related to water. So you have the house and it is raining and the water drains, okay, like extract. So a brain drain is a metaphor when a lot of educated people, a lot of intelligent or skilled or educated people, it's necessary to emigrate or to leave for work or for opportunities away. So this is a brain drain from the country. So this is just one example of an idiom, but we have a lot of idioms in English and it's a big area. So for me, phrasal verbs and idioms are a big area to improve. Okay, conversation and pronunciation. So yes, to improve English, it's necessary to practice conversation, and I recommend that you try to speak with somebody in English regularly. During the class it's possible, and I saw we have a connection from Skype and a connection from Zoom. So I hope during the class we can participate and practice speaking, because it's a big part to improve English and for you to learn more, a big part. Pronunciation, we have a lot of particular issues in relation to pronunciation. We have some irregular pronunciation in English, number one, and I hope to show you during the class some pronunciation difficulties. Okay, for example, the Y, yellow, jacket, cash, the SH, and the G, register. So we have a lot of difficult words to pronounce, and I hope to help, okay, during the class. The next section are the tenses. So when you speak in English, we have different tenses, and it's the same in other languages, in Portuguese, in Spanish, in Chinese, Japanese, Indonesian. Every language, you need to be aware and you need to be conscious of the time. Do you speak in the present? Do you speak in the past? Do you speak in the future? So it's a big importance to be aware and conscious of the time. And for example, in English, we have the simple, we have the present simple, one action you do in the present, the past simple, one action you do completed in the past, and the future simple. We have a lot of irregular verbs in the past simple, and this is a big difficulty in English, the irregular verbs. We also have the concept of the continuous, so the present continuous, one action you do continuously in the present, the past continuous, and the future continuous. I think the majority of you are probably familiar with the concepts of the tenses, but at the same time it's important to refresh and to understand, okay? So that's the simple, the continuous, and the perfect. So we have the perfect in English, we have the present perfect and the past perfect. So the present perfect is one action that's completed, it's finished, but it's relevant to the present. And the construction is the subject, the extra verb have, and the participle. So for example, I have eaten my breakfast. It's finished, it's completed, but it's relevant to the present because now I am not hungry. That's the present perfect. The past perfect is the construction subject, extra verb have in the past, and participle. It's a period of time, usually before a past simple. So I had eaten my breakfast when a friend contacted me. So the past perfect is usually the period in the past before another past simple, okay? It's possible in the future perfect also, okay? So here you can see a little. We have the perfect, we have the simple, we have the continuous, and the concept of the infinitive as well is very important. So an infinitive in English is to, the foundation or the base, to eat, to drink, to have, to go, infinitive, okay? So in Spanish it's para beber, para comer, para dormir. In English, to, infinitive. The conditionals, we have a lot of conditionals in English. In the theory, in the book for conditionals is very difficult. We have the zero conditional, first conditional, second conditional, third conditional, mixed conditional, and in the book the theory is very heavy and the theory is very, very complicated, but in reality I believe it is more flexible and it's a little bit more relaxed in reality in conversation. Yes, it's important you study the conditional and you are familiar with the theory, but in reality it's more flexible and it's less strict. Basically it's depending on if. For example, if it rains today, I will go to the city centre. If I spoke to my friend yesterday, I would have asked about the football. So basically it's connected to if and a different time, but that is the concept of the conditional. And the final concept is the active and the passive. So the structure of the active is the subject, the verb, and the object. I drink the coffee, okay? And the passive, you change the position. The coffee, extra verb to be, is participle of the original verb, drunk by me. That's the concept of the active and the passive, and this is important, for example, in an exam. If you want to prepare for an exam, it's a recommendation and it's good practice to use a range and a variety of tenses, okay? But also in reality, we use conditional, we use passive, we use active, we use perfect all the time. For example, this morning with my family in conversation, it's possible to have conditional. It's so important, okay? So at the beginning, it's very crucial that you really understand the concepts of English and the tenses, okay? So that's the importance of this introduction, okay? The next section are just basic concepts for grammar. Basically, we have the substantive and a noun. So it's necessary that you are totally sure of the significance of a noun or a substantive. Okay, so basically it's a person, a place, or a thing. My hand, substantive. Head, jacket, table. So many things are substantives. Every substantive, you need an article. In English, we have two articles. We have the indefinite article, a or a. Pronunciation is possible too, a or a. And we have the definite article, the. So for example, house. A house, a house, that's the indefinite. House again, the house, specific, okay? So that's the article and the substantive. We need an adjective, so the position of the adjective is before the substantive. For example, house, the big house. So adjective is before the noun, okay? And that's very important because in Portuguese and in Spanish, I think the adjective is after the noun, but in English, the adjective is before the noun. So that's article, adjective, substantive. We also have an adverb, and the job or the function of the adverb is to describe the verb. So the verb drink, adverb quickly. I drink quickly. Talk, verb, adverb slowly. And normally the adverb has the ending ly, quickly, slowly, happily, rapidly. So the adverb's function is to describe the verb. Okay, so again, it's important that you're familiar with the concept. Modal verbs. So this is a very important area in English, the modal verbs. And we use modal verbs all the time for possibility, for obligation, recommendation, advice, and ability. Okay, they're the 5 areas in general that we use modal verbs a lot. And the first modal verb is can, so it's related to ability. I can play the piano. I can speak to my friend. It's ability and permission. I can enter the shop. I can go to Italy. It's permission and ability, can. Okay, could, may, and might are very, very similar for possibilities or options. I could go to Italy. I may go to Italy. I might go to Italy. All the same, just possibilities. The only difference, may and might are a little more polite and a little more formal. Okay, so may and might are a little more polite and could is more general, but all for possibilities. I could go to the city centre. I could contact my friend. It's an option. It's a possibility. Shall is a bit older English and formal, and it's very similar to will or should. So it's a question. Shall we have dinner? Shall we drink a coffee? It's the question, will we drink a coffee or should we drink a coffee? Should is the same as ought to. So ought to is the pronunciation difficult because the G is silent. So the verb is ought to, and the significance is the same as should, and the 2 verbs are used for recommendation and advice. So my recommendation to you, you should watch the movie. You should read the book. It's my recommendation. You ought to read the book. You ought to visit the doctor. It's my recommendation. You should. Okay, so they're very similar and very important. But must and have to are the same, and must is obligation. You have no choice. It's something you have to do. It's an obligation. You must clean your room. You must contact your friend. You have to go to the cinema. It's an obligation. Okay? So that is very important. A big part of English are prepositions. So prepositions are a big, big part of English. They are the foundation. And basically the prepositions are related to movement, direction, and position. Okay? We have maybe 150 prepositions, but really they are connected to movement, direction, and position. So for example, the ball is on the table, the ball is under the table, over the table, beside the table, in front of the table, at the table, behind the table, below the table. We have a lot of prepositions and they're so important for position, but also direction. Speak. I speak to you. Direction. I talk to you. So really important for movement and direction. Travel. I travel to Ireland. So prepositions are really important, and I recommend that you are very, very familiar with all the prepositions. You can see here we have a list of prepositions, and of course on the internet you have a lot of possibilities for documents in relation to prepositions. So they are a big part of English for sure. Okay, okay, that's prepositions. Also in relation to phrasal verbs, prepositions are a big part of phrasal verbs. And a preposition is normally connected with emotion. For example, up is positive, up is happy, up is creation, generally associated. Okay, down is usually associated negative, sad, depressing, or destruction. Okay, so phrasal verbs, the importance of the preposition is connected with emotion and sentiment. So they're very flexible, and you need to have an open mind and open attitude to understand them. Okay. This area is very important of the pronoun, and a lot of confusion exists between my hat, your hat, his hat, her hat, or speak to me, speak to you, speak to him, speak to her, or he likes or she likes. So the subject pronoun, the object pronoun, the possessive pronoun, the possessive object, you need to be very clear with this area. Okay, for example, my hat, okay, it is my hat, but the hat is mine, okay, or give the hat to me. And as I said, the particular confusion is with him and her, his or her, or possession pronouns here, his or hers. So this is such a common confusion, and I have heard the confusion so many times. So it's a big area to improve. Okay. Also the difference between another, other, and the other. So basically, another is for singular, another day, another week, another year. Other is generally for plural, other days, other weeks, other years. That's the difference between another and other. When you have a choice or an option of two things, do you want this coffee or do you want the other coffee? Okay, so when you have a choice or a selection of two things, we use the other. Do you want this football or do you want the other football? Okay, that's possible. And the final example is the others in relation to a group. So the cinema. Do you want to go to the cinema with us or do you want to go to the cinema with the others? So you need to be clear with the difference between another, other, the other, and the others. Okay. That's generally the introduction for today. Finally, just suffixes and prefixes are a big help to study English. So I recommend that you try to identify and you try to be familiar with the concept of a prefix and the concept of a suffix, because it helps to identify the structure of the word and the family of the word. Is the word a verb? Is the word adjective? Is the word noun? Is the word adverb? So the prefix and the suffix is a big clue and a big help to identify the form of the word. And it's a typical confusion. A lot of people confuse the noun for the adjective, and it depends on the suffix. Okay. So for example, ance as the suffix is the substantive, the importance, it's a noun. Okay. Ize as a suffix is generally a verb, to realize, to memorize. Okay. Verb. Able is normally adjective. Okay. Manageable, that's an adjective, manageable. Ly is normally adverb. Pre is usually before, pre-match, pre-event. Anti is against, anti-smoking, anti-cigarettes. Okay. Im and un are irregular for negative, impossible, unbelievable. Negative substantive and negative substantive irregular. Okay. So that is important. Generally, writing. So writing is a big skill, you can see here. Speaking, writing, listening, and grammar are the 4 or 5 very important areas. So writing is very important, and if you want to practice some writing, you can send me some writing and I can try to correct and show everybody the advice and the suggestions. So writing is very important. Okay. And exam preparations. Exams are very popular. We have the Cambridge exams and the IELTS exams, and some people need these exams for your career, and hopefully I can create some classes specifically for the exams. And in my videos already you can see the video collection of some advice for exams. Okay, so that's sufficient for the introduction for today. I want to show you something because I have a question, particularly for people from Brazil and from Spain. Something in this video I recognize and I don't know what it is, so I need your help to identify what is in this video. This is a video from Dublin this morning, and I'm going to show you. You can see beautiful weather, but I have one question. You see this object? Can anybody tell me what is this object? It's very bright and I have never seen it before in Dublin. It's very strange because normally in Dublin it's cloudy and it's raining, but here this appeared this morning and it looks beautiful and it's very hot, but I don't know what it is. So if somebody can tell me what this is, I'll be very happy, because the weather is incredible today in Dublin. It's a big surprise, and it's very unusual. So that was this morning in Dublin. The weather is fantastic. Okay, so now we have the book. here you can see the book. Again, the introduction, it's a book about football and the vocabulary is fantastic. So this man is a football manager and you can see the name, the gaffer. So this is conversational and a very important word. So for example, a gaffer is, I'm going to show you the vocabulary because it's important. My notes are here, I think. Yes, so the gaffer is another name for the manager. It's informal and for conversation. So in the job, your manager, it's possible the gaffer, but it's very conversational and very friendly. Okay, so in football, the gaffer is the manager. Also, a gaff is possibly an error or a mistake. So if you make an error or make a mistake, it's possible to make a gaff. Okay, an error or a mistake. And also a gaff, informal, very, very informal. Okay, extremely informal. A gaff is for a house. So with my family, with my friends, we use in conversation, do you want to come to my gaff? Do you want to go to his gaff? Very, very informal, but typical in conversation, and the significance is house. Okay, so a gaff is a house. A G-A-F-F-E is a error or a mistake, but a gaff is informal for a house. Okay, so I like this book because the vocabulary is very good, and you can see it's the prologue, so this is the introduction, and first I will read the page for pronunciation and then I will analyze the vocabulary. Okay, so football is like a beast. It can overtake your whole life, so you forget who you are and who your family are. That's just a quotation. Okay, so here we go, the first part, and I'll move my picture so you can see everything. The Eagles, my Eagles were literally flying when it happened. It was 26 January 2010. Crystal Palace were 25,000 feet over Yorkshire on the way to play Newcastle United, and full of optimism. We had taken off from Gatwick in the hunt for promotion to the Premier League. Okay, by the time we landed, we were in a relegation scrap. A company I'd barely heard of, doing something I didn't understand, had brought the Eagles crashing to earth, as thoughtlessly as a farmer shooting pigeons. Okay, but I've always believed that in life things happen for a reason, and that day launched the most extraordinary years of my career. After 42 years in football, from Northern Premier League to Barclays Premier League, I thought I had seen it all. I was wrong. Okay, very good. So first, the vocabulary, a beast. A beast is obviously an animal, okay, or something wild. So a big beast is an animal. But you can use a beast for a metaphor for football or for the economy. It's like a big animal. It's impossible to control. So the economy is a beast. The situation maybe is like a beast. It's impossible to control. And very informal in Ireland. You can say the restaurant is beast, or very informal, like it's very cool. Oh, it's beast, it's amazing. But that's very, very informal and not so common. Okay, so beast is flexible. And here we can see the subject, it. Can is the modal verb. Remember, ability. So football is the representation of it. So football can is the modal verb. And the rule after the modal verb, every verb after the modal verb is the infinitive, but it's necessary to eliminate two. So can, may, might, must, should. The next verb is the infinitive, but the rule is it's necessary to eliminate two. So the correct structure, can go, might eat, could have. The error, can to have, could to have. That is the error. So it's necessary after the modal, the next verb we eliminate two. And here is an example. The verb is to overtake. And the context of overtake is typical in the car or on the road. So if you are driving on the road and you have two cars, so the car at the back overtakes the other car. So the verb to overtake is typical in the context of the road, number one. And in this situation, it's a metaphor for football and your life. So football can overtake, like dominate. Because there is another possibility to take over, which is similar to control, and the context for a company. So you have a big company and a small company, and the big company take over the small company. They buy the small company and now they control the company. So to take over is a phrasal verb, take and over, and it's literal because you take the control of the small company. So it's similar to overtake, and in this situation it's possible the two. It can overtake your life or it can take over your life. I think take over is probably more appropriate. Whole is very important. So your is possession, my house, my life, your life, and also you need to be clear with life is singular, okay, plural is lives, and the pronunciation is different, but the verb is to live, pronunciation is very different again. So you need to be clear with the singular, the plural, and the verb. So the verb to live, my life, our lives, and also the adjective is very important, lively city, okay, or alive. So we have two possible adjectives. I am alive, that's the adjective. The city is alive, it's the same concept, and also lively with a lot of life, a lot of animation. So we have two adjectives, but also we have an adjective in relation to music, live music. So that's musico, music indirecto in Espanol. So you can see this word is very, very important, and there is a verb to liven up, which means to be more animated and to be more happy, okay. So it's a flexible family and a flexible word. And here whole is very important. You need to be clear with the difference between whole and whole. So the pronunciation is practically the same. The second one is like a hueco in Espanol. You have a hueco in the ground, you have a hole. So that's the second word with the h. But the first word means all. The whole day, the whole week, the whole family, total family, all of the day, all of the family. Whole has the significance total, and the second significance is like in the road you have a hole, or in your jacket you have a hole in your jacket, okay. So you need to be clear with the two differences. And here the significance is all your life, or your life completely, okay. The eagles. So an eagle is a type of a bird. You have a bird and a type, a special bird is an eagle, but this is the nickname of the football team. The football team have the nickname the Eagle. It's a team in London. It's a team called Crystal Palace, and the nickname of Crystal Palace are the Eagles, okay. And that's the context here. When it happened. So in English you always need a subject, okay. In Spanish and Portuguese I think it's possible to eliminate the subject, but in English always you need the subject. The verb here is to happen, and the subject is it, because it's the situation or the problem happened, and it's the past simple, because remember the past simple regular is ed, look, looked, ed, and here happen, happened. So this is an example of the regular past simple. It was 26th January. Again, subject. It's necessary to have subject in English. It, and it's a little difficult to use, but we use it all the time, okay. 25,000 feet over Yorkshire. So this concept is important in relation to altura, to the height. So for example, me, I am 5'10". In Spanish or Portuguese or Indonesian, maybe it's meters. So for us, for height, we say feet. And singular is 1 foot, and plural is irregular, 2 feet or 3 feet, okay. So for the height, for boys or for girls or for people, we say feet. I am 5'10", okay. So that's very important as well. 1 foot and 2 feet. And here the preposition over. So the context is the aeroplane. They are in the aeroplane, and they are 25,000 feet over Yorkshire. So Yorkshire is the region, Yorkshire is the area, and the aeroplane, they are 25,000 feet over. Okay, so that's important preposition. On the way is a very important preposition as well. So your friend has the party and you are traveling to the party. You are on the way. Very common in conversation. I will meet you in 10 minutes. I am on the way. So preposition on the way is very important. In the way is completely different. So this is a good example of the importance. So on the way maybe means traveling, okay, in the process of traveling. But in the way, so I'll just write the example, is completely different. Process of traveling. In the way, the significance is obstruction. So for example, I want to create my I want to construct my building, I want to construct my object, but somebody is in the way. Somebody is blocking me or stopping me. I want to enter the building, but somebody is in the way, so blocking me. So there's a big difference between on the way and in the way. Okay, so that is the perfect example of the importance of the correct preposition. And it's very, very important. But in this case, they are on the way, so they are traveling to play Newcastle. The next one, we had taken off. So the phrasal verb to take off. Oh my god, my spelling is really bad there. To take off is a phrasal verb. Remember, a phrasal verb is the verb and the preposition with a different significance and a second significance. So take off is literal. For example, clothes. When I change my clothes, I take off my jacket, because preposition on we use for body. The jacket is on my body, but the phrasal verb, the literal significance, to take off. Okay, so that's the preposition off, number one. But the second significance is the context for the aeroplane. So the aeroplane is on the ground. So preposition for the surface, always surface on the ground, on the table, on the wall. And for the aeroplane, it's on the ground at the beginning. And when the aeroplane starts, it take off the ground. So the significance of to take off is related to the aeroplane. And this example, the subject is we, and had taken off is the past perfect. Okay, and remember, the past perfect is usually the period in the past before another action in the past simple. So we had taken off from Gatwick. So two prepositions and a little complicated, but we had taken off from Gatwick. Gatwick is the name of the airport in London. And in the hunt for, this is another expression, okay? In the hunt for. So first we have the verb to hunt, and cazar, I think in Espanol, or cazar, no sé, cazar maybe, but basically a hunter. You know Tarzan? So Tarzan is in the jungle, and Tarzan is hunting the animal to try to kill the animal. So a hunter is the person who tries to kill the animal, number one. The verb is to hunt, it's the action, and the phrase, the expression is in the hunt for. It is possible as well on the hunt for, and in this case it's exactly the same significance. So it's possible to say in the hunt for a job, in the hunt for apartment, on the hunt for a job, on the hunt for apartment. Basically that has the significance, you are looking for a job, you are looking for an apartment, okay? And in this situation, in sport, they are looking to win, their objective is promotion, okay? And you can see the word promotion is very important, because the verb is to promote, but in the context of your job, this is a very, very important context. When you receive a better position, when you are given, come out to give, when you are given a better position, we say you receive or you get a promotion. So in your job, a promotion is an increase to the next level. So you're at the beginning and then you have a promotion. Have a promotion, receive a promotion, get a promotion. That's the vocabulary, okay? That's important for the job. But in sport, it's the same. You have the classification and the promotion is to the next category, the next division. So yes, it's possible for sport, but it is also very possible for work and professional situations, okay? To be promoted. And the verb to be is the construction of the passive, okay? So because the manager promotes you, but you are promoted. So that's an example of the active and the passive. So it is very important. Also, in this context, we say to receive a raise. And here you need to be very clear with the difference between raise and rise. So the second significance, rise, is possible in the company, like promotion. You rise in the company, you have a promotion. But the first significance, a raise, is completely different. When you say I receive a raise, I have a raise, I get a raise, the significance and the context is financial and money. So my salary is 20 euro, that's my salary, and if I receive a raise from the company, now I have 30 euro, so it's an increase. So there is a big difference between a raise and a rise. Okay, and the verb is to raise. Two different verbs, completely different. And the first one is typical when the object, the beginning, is the sun, the temperature, the price. For example, the sun rises, the temperature rises, the price rises. That's the second verb. Okay, so the sun, temperature, and price. Number one, temperature and price rises. Okay, but number one, to raise, is typically the person. I raise my hand, I raise a question, I raise the children. So there's a difference between raise and rise, and you need to be clear with the context and the use in English. Okay, so to raise is maybe the person who does the action. So for example, typical in the pub, the manager, the owner, raises the price. Okay, so number one, the manager raises the price, but the price rises. It's a very, very tricky and difficult situation, but you need to be very clear the difference between to raise and to rise, and I recommend you study more the difference and the context. Okay, here a promotion to the Premier League, but by the time we landed, so this expression by the time, it's very advanced and it's very important, and I don't know if you understand it perfectly. I'll give you one example. So at the moment, my friend is traveling to me. At the moment, my friend is on the way to me, but he will be another 10-20 minutes. So I have 20 minutes before he arrives, and I think by the time he arrives, I will have eaten my breakfast. So I have 20 minutes, so a limit, and by the time he arrives, I will have finished. So it's a simple structure, but it's very, very important, and I think a lot of people have difficulty with the expression by the time. It's like the limit. You have a little time and a limit. So for example, the coronavirus, we hope everything is fixed, we hope everything is organized for the summer. So by the time it is the summer, I hope we are okay. It's a little difficult, but it's very common in English, and I recommend that you are familiar with that expression. And the verb is to land, so the initial verb for the plane is to take off, and the opposite for the plane is to land. Okay, so for the aeroplane is to take off, and the opposite is to land. Okay, but it is more flexible in the context for your job. If you land a new position, you land a new job, that has the significance that you have or you get a new job. Okay, so it's a bit more flexible. To land a new job is to get or to receive, probably obtain a new job. Also, in relation to take off, we have the phrasal verb to take off, and this is typical for the aeroplane, number one, but number two, it's possible for your idea. So you have a business idea, you have an entrepreneurial idea, you have a great idea, and you try to make the business, you try to make the idea take off. So the significance of your business to take off is success, éxito. Okay, so it's possible the aeroplane, and it's possible a company, success. And that's the same concept, because the aeroplane takes off, but your business takes off. It's grow, success. Okay, so that's the importance. And the same with land. It's literal for the aeroplane land, and the second significance is to obtain or to get successful job. Okay, and here, so by the time we landed, we were in a relegation scrap. So this word is very important. A scrap is flexible, and there's a few different meanings. The first significance is the verb to scrap, and it means maybe to tirar in Espanol. So I have a plan, I have an idea, but I scrap the idea, I destroy the idea, I throw away the idea. So to scrap something is to throw away. Okay, so to scrap something is to throw away, number one. And also we have the scrap yard. Yard is like the patio in Espanol for the children. In school you have the yard, it's the location where the children play. But the scrapyard is in relation to the car. When you are finished with your car and you want to destroy your car, you need to bring the car to the scrapyard, because the scrapyard is the place where they throw away all the cars, all the metal. Okay, so that's the concept of the scrap. It's like throw away. You can have a scrap of paper, and a scrap of paper is the piece of paper that you do not want. So this is your book, this is your paper, and you have a scrap of paper is the little extra piece that is not necessary for rubbish. That's the scrap of paper. Okay, to feed on scraps in relation to food, you have your dinner and you're eating your dinner, but you give the dog the scraps. So you give the dog the little pieces that you don't want. It's the same concept as the paper. That's very important. And they're the most common situations. Also, a scrap and the verb to scrap again is the significance to fight. So if one dog is fighting, pelear, fighting with another dog, it's possible to say to scrap, to fight. Okay, so it's flexible word, maybe a little conversational, but to have a scrap is to have a fight or to have an argument. Okay, so this is a perfect example of the context of English and the use of English, and it's very, very important. So the substantive is a fight, and in this situation they are in a relegation scrap. Okay, and remember, promotion and relegate. So the verb to promote and the opposite is to relegate, typical in sport. So basically the team are in, preposition in, an argument, in a fight for survival in the league. So they're in a scrap for promotion and relegation. Very, very good vocabulary, very conversational, and a very good example to understand English in reality. The final example is a scrapbook. And this is very typical. A scrapbook is the collection. Imagine the celebrity. You are a celebrity. You are a famous musician. And in the newspaper, there's lots of people write about you in the newspaper. There's lots of articles in the newspaper about you. So you collect the article from the newspaper. You collect and you put the article in your book, your personal book. So a scrapbook is your personal book of the collections, typically from the paper. Okay, so it's typically a souvenir or from memory. Very, very good vocabulary and a very good example of the word scrap. We have maybe 5 or 6 different significances. Okay, the next word is more general and very, very important. So you can see I had barely heard. So this is the past perfect. I had heard. Okay, and the typical preposition with heard is of. So I had heard of, and barely is the key. Okay, this is the key, barely. A bare wall, barefoot. Okay, basically the wall, if the wall is bare, it's like empty or desnudo or naked. So the wall, for example, this wall is bare, it's very empty and it's very naked. My room, my living room is very bare, it's very empty. Okay, barefoot is very typical as well. So you walk, the recommendation is to not walk barefoot. Barefoot has the significance no socks, no shoes. So you are barefooted means you have no socks and you have no shoes. That's the concept of bare. And then the adverb barely, no time. The significance in Spanish is casi nunca. Okay, so the significance is almost no time. So it's not exactly no time, it's casi, almost no time. Very, very important. And here, a company, like the business, the negocio, the company I had barely heard of. So yes, I heard it a little, so somebody mentioned the name, but maybe only one time. I have not heard about the company a lot, only one time. So this word barely is very, very important. Okay, it's also possible the bare basics, the bare minimum. So you travel to, I don't know, Brazil. For example, I am traveling in Brazil and it's a long travel, but I have the bare basics or the bare minimum. So there's really almost a minimum, just a bag and a jacket. Okay, so it is very, very important, bare. Very good and very important. Okay, so that's just a little example of vocabulary and expressions from a book. I recommend the best way for you to improve English is to read. So really the secret is to read a book, different sources, different locations, book, magazine, newspaper, very important. Okay, so now maybe it's a good opportunity to practice some speaking. So I will go to the Zoom, and if the person is ready we can practice some speaking, and I hope everybody can understand the conversation, and we can just have a little introduction and I can help with the vocabulary and with the suggestions. Okay, so I think Kathy was the first person, so I'll accept Kathy, and hopefully we have no problem with the computer. It is possible with the internet. Kathy, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm just going to make the screen a little bit smaller so everybody can see. Okay, so do you want to explain a little about yourself, or an introduction? Where are you from?
Yes, okay. I am from Peru, but I live in Spain like 15 years, sorry,
Wow.
15 years. Yes, like when I was teenager, I moved there with my family.
Yeah.
After that, I started studying my high school there. I passed to study my degree
Yeah.
of business in Spain, in Cantabria,
Okay.
north of Spain.
Yeah.
And after that, I moved here like in last August to
Okay.
London. I am living in London now.
Okay. And how can
Yeah.
you explain or describe London? Is it a nice place to live, or is it difficult or stressful?
Yes, no, actually, I come here a lot of times for visit my family and friends, but
Yeah.
now this changing the situation, so I come to enjoy very well what is the really environment London can offer me.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
yes, now after restrictions, I try my best. Now I am working part time and study as well
Yeah.
in the college. And the level they put me in the college is intermediate.
Okay.
I am studying level one. Um,
Yeah.
Only 2 days per week is not too much really, but I wanna study some master or specific course in accounting
Yeah.
because I am accountant in Spain.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why yes, this is my plan, but I
Yeah.
know I need to take time, be patient as well.
And my
Yeah.
my experience with people, I have met a few people from Peru, and in my experience, the level of English generally is quite good. Would you agree? And what is the explanation for this? Why do you think it's good in Peru?
About Peru, actually, I told you I live just
Okay.
15 years in Spain, so I don't have
Okay.
a lot to remember of my original country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you learned your English in Spain.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. And was that difficult, or how did you learn English in Spain?
Oof, too much
Yeah.
really, because it's very difficult. You can find one native teacher there, so
Yeah.
the level is really less. Actually, I remember when I lived in Peru, I had more class in English. I can practice more,
Yeah.
but it's American English.
Okay.
So when I come to Europe, in Spain, I study little more British accent, but you know, uh, I can't practice very well. My level is everything I know in English is from Spain, but yes, I study really 2 years or 1 year seriously. So
What do you think is the biggest difference between American English and British English? Do you think there's a big difference?
yes, some words, for example, so it's very different the meaning, so maybe the final pronunciation,
Yeah.
different accents as well. Yes, I
Okay.
can recognize easily.
Okay, super. Okay, let me give you a little example of the suggestions. I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you see the typing, the corrections I have on the screen at the moment?
So about your class, sorry.
Okay. No, just at the moment, I have written some corrections. So on the screen, I don't know if you can see because of Zoom, but I can explain anyway. It's if you can look at the screen, it's great. But if you cannot, no problem, because I can explain anyway. The first example was a teenager. You said when I was teenager. What do you think is the little correction here?
I was.
This is a very typical expression. When I am doctor, I am teacher, I am nurse, but when I was teenager. So what is the correction, do you think, in this little situation?
When I was more young, maybe. Or
Yeah, and normally we say a. So I am a doctor, I am. So for a profession,
yes.
so it's a very typical. So your example, when I was a teenager, it's just a little detail. The other example, you said I can't to enjoy because of the restrictions in London, because of the problems, you can't to enjoy. And what do you think is the little change that's necessary in that sentence? And this is
I can't enjoy.
exactly. And why? Why is that necessary? Can you explain the reason why?
Yes, because can is a modal, so you can't continue to put to.
Yeah,
So you need to take that and instead of put the infinitive.
exactly. And this is a very common, it's extremely common translation problem. So that's very important. The next example, in the school, the level they put me is very understandable and very clear. But poner en español es muy típico. Poner, poner, poner. Pero en inglés creo que aquí es mejor para decir dar.
Give or
Yeah,
arrange.
exactly, give. So you give somebody a level, you give somebody a score. So here it's probably the level they gave me is just more common and more appropriate. Okay? The next example was I wanna study. Okay, so this is very typical, informal, very typical for conversation. I wanna go, I wanna eat. What do you think is the little change there?
Yeah, I want to study.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So,
extremely
you
common.
know, when you practice, you say wanna shut up. So you try
Exactly.
to, yeah, but it's informal conversation. Yeah,
And the next, well, yeah, it's more for writing. I think really for text messages, it's very typical for text messages. But exactly, it's and then accountant. So you want to be an accountant is the profession or the person. You want to be an accountant, but the subject, asignatura, the subject is accounting.
okay. Yeah,
Okay,
this is a bit confused with it.
always. But again, these are the typical. I have heard these confusions all the time, so they're very typical. And then the next example for Peru, I think you said I have a lot of remember. So basically, I just want to tell everybody the difference between to remember and to remind. I don't know if you're familiar with the difference to remember and to remind. What do you think is the difference?
So remember is like, I don't know, maybe remind.
Yeah.
No.
No, don't worry because it's an extremely common situation. So basically, the verb to remember is something in the past. So, for example, on Friday, I cannot remember Friday night because the party was so crazy. I am so tired, so I cannot remember in my head. But remind, I remind you that tomorrow there is an exam. So there's a big difference in English between remember and remind. I don't know if you can explain in Spanish. Do you understand the difference? Is there a difference in Spanish?
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Recordar is number one. I think it's the same in Spanish, and that's the problem, I think. And the substantive in English, so there's the verb to remember and the verb to remind. So the substantive a memory is related to Friday night. So I have a memory of Friday night. I have a memory of the person. and then the substantive is I give you a reminder for tomorrow. So it's something for you. In Spanish I think it's the same, and that's the difficulty, but basically in English there's different verbs. Okay? No, that's just a little example, and thank you so much for practicing. So what's the situation in London at the moment? Is everybody at home, or how is everything in London?
Yes, so in London, a lot of business are closed now.
Yeah.
A lot, really a lot. You can go to practice exercise in the park 1 or 2 hours. But for example, in my case, I need to go to work because my work is impossible remote wise.
Yes.
So I come to work, but for example, if I want to visit my friends, I have a lot of friends in Brighton.
Yeah.
So I can't, oh my god, it's 2 or 3 months I can't visit them. Really.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why, yes, for example, in my flat, we had 3 people with positive.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow, so that's why I did installation for 10 days.
Yeah.
Because it's impossible. I can't go to work for 10 days. After that, I returned to work last week.
Yeah.
So that's why I tried to resume my return. So
Yeah.
my normal life in this situation. But anyway, I have my classes in the college by online as well.
Yes.
2 days per week is a little less this situation, you know. But
Yeah.
I hope today the minister is saying.
Oh, yes, today is the...
Yes, I hope.
And in relation to the English classes, do you find some parts difficult? What is your opinion or your reaction, or is there anything that you think is easy in the class, or do you recommend something to focus on?
Your class really is the first time.
Ah,
This
okay.
is my first day.
Okay,
So
okay.
I am really appreciate. I can't follow everything, by the way.
Yes.
You explain very good. You can brief and really good examples as well.
Good,
I can follow. In my case, I can. So
good.
yes, I'm really happy. So I want to join a lot of times when I can. So
Super.
yes, I'm really happy. Really, it's a really good impression first.
Okay, so thank you so much, and for participating. It's fantastic. But now I think we will try to continue. I'm going to show a video now to everybody, and it's difficult. But I want to say thank you very much for connecting, and well done, and hopefully you can keep in contact with the class. You're very welcome, and talk to you soon. I think I can remove you from one moment. So I'm gonna disconnect you, okay? So thank you so much. Bye 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 bye. Okay, so that was fantastic. I think it's a really good possibility for people to participate. And maybe at the end of the class we can continue, and I think there's another person waiting. But now I want to show you a video. Okay, so this video on the left is a typical telenovela. In Espanol you say a telenovela, but in English a telenovela is a soap. And soap is obviously the detergent for your hands, but the name of the series, the name of the telenovela in English generally is a soap. And I think the reason is because the company for detergent, they advertise or they sponsor originally the program. Okay, so here on the right you can see the name of the program. The name is Emmerdale, and it's a very typical program in Yorkshire in England, and I think you can see it started in 1972. Clip is just for 2 minutes. First I want to show you the clip, and I want you to try to listen to the audio. It's a little difficult, but after 2 minutes I will check the vocabulary and I will try to explain the vocabulary, and you can understand, and then we will listen again. Okay, so now I will press play, and hopefully you can hear everything. Okay, so 1 second. And just the context before we start. The context is the boy and the girl. So the girl is pregnant Of course, the series is dramatic. The telenovelas are dramatic. So the girl is pregnant and she wants to explain and tell the boy that she is pregnant and he is the father, and he is not happy. He does not want to know, and that's the context of the conversation. Okay? Let's go.
I'm sorry that I was so harsh yesterday.
It's fine.
But you'll get over this in time. Eventually you'll realise, like me, that it was just a stupid mistake. You'll be glad nothing came of it.
I'm pregnant. Jamie, I'm pregnant. Walk away from me.
I don't want to say something I might regret.
I'm more upset about this than you, believe me.
Just go away, okay? I'm not interested in your lies.
Why would I make it up?
I don't know, because you've had some teenage crush on me that I was stupid enough to reciprocate for one night, and now you won't take no for an answer.
Who do you think you're talking to?
A silly little girl.
Oh, so I'm old enough to sleep with? But I'm just a silly little girl underneath it all. What does that make you, huh?
We were careful.
Yeah, well, not careful enough, clearly.
Look, things like this happen all the time.
Not to me, it doesn't. Look, you haven't even asked me how I feel about it.
I don't care how you feel. If you're imagining that I was going to get down on one knee and we were going to live happily ever after, then I'm sorry to break it to you, but we live in the real world now. Gabby, it's only been a few weeks. Okay, it's no big deal. We can get rid of it. Okay, so can I leave you to organise that, or should I?
Yeah, I'll sort it. Like you said. It's no big deal.
Right.
Okay, very good. So 2 minutes. Not too difficult in my opinion. The video last week in Ireland probably is more complicated, but probably not too difficult today. Some expressions are important and the boy spoke very quickly at the end, but I imagine you understand more or less the idea. So here is the vocabulary on the left. So I'm going to show you here. I'll move to the left. So first she said Jamie, and then of course Gabby, I'm sorry. So the first word is harsh. Sorry I was so harsh yesterday. And harsh is very typical in conversation. If the person is very harsh, it's almost similar to cruel. Okay, so harsh is very similar to cruel. Okay, and you can have a harsh person, a harsh comment, which is the significance, a very cruel or very mean. Okay, so we have another significance, mean is like bad behavior. It's also possible for the weather. The weather is very harsh, means the weather is very strong or very bad weather. Okay, so harsh is very important. And remember, so is to intensify. So to intensify the adjective happy, so happy. Tired, so tired. Harsh, so harsh. Okay, so is to emphasize. Then he says, you will get over. So this is a phrasal verb. To get over is superar in Espanol. So you have a problem and it's necessary to get over the problem. Okay, so you have the flu and you want to get over the flu. You have the illness, you have the sickness, the infection. You want to get over. Okay, so this is a relationship and maybe the relationship breaks and you need to get over the situation. Okay, that's the concept. The verb to realize is very important, and especially in Spanish, because realizar is like hacer, I think, in Espanol. So realize in English is more darse cuenta. Okay, so I realize the time, I realize my error, I realize my mistake. It's like darse cuenta in Espanol. So in Spanish particularly, realizar, I think, is a false friend. So you need to be careful in English with the verb to realize. Again, a stupid mistake. So mistake and error have the same significance. A mistake and error. You will be glad. Glad is the same as happy. I am glad, I am pleased, I am very happy. So glad, pleased and happy are basically the same. Okay, so glad pleased and happy are very, very similar. Nothing came of it. So the phrasal verb to come of it, something comes of it. So you meet a person for the first time and you have a conversation with the person for the first time, and you hope something comes of the conversation. So you hope you have more contact, you hope you have an opportunity of a job, so you hope something comes of it, or something comes from it, okay? So that is the expression for something to come of it. And in this situation, they had the relationship and the boy thinks there was no consequence. So the boy thinks nothing came from the relationship, but in fact she is pregnant, so something did come from the relationship, okay? Don't walk away. So that's the typical phrasal verb to walk away, because I am here and you walk away, but it's a metaphor for your problem. You walk away from your problems, you walk away from your responsibilities. That's the significance to walk away, okay? And then here is the modal verb. It's a possibility. I might, I could, or I may. Exactly the same. Regret is the verb to regret. Lamentar in Espanol. So you regret, you feel bad about the past. But here it's the modal, and after the modal, the next verb is the infinitive, and we eliminate the two. Okay? Upset is very important as well, because upset is basically the same as sad or not happy. And everybody understands sad, everybody understands unhappy. But if you are upset, it means you're not happy and you are sad. It's possible for your stomach. You have an upset stomach. That means maybe you feel a little sick or a little unwell. So you have an upset stomach. In sport, it's possible an upset because the expectation is for the team to win. So this is the high expectation. Everybody expects this team to win. But finally, the small team has the victory. So the victory is a big upset. So it is a flexible word and very important, okay? Again, go away is the order. When somebody you don't want to be beside you, you say go away. It's an order, like vete ya, something like that in Spanish. And interested, typical preposition is in. I am interested in music. I am interested in the movie. I am interested in traveling. So interested in is very important. And lies are very important as well. So basically the verb is to lie. The opposite is the truth, to tell the truth. So you're very honest and you tell the truth, okay? But the opposite is to lie. In Espanol, mentir, okay? And the substantive is a lie. So the verb is to lie and the substantive is a lie. But you need to be careful because there is a second significance of the verb to lie. The first significance is mentir, so the opposite of the truth. But the second significance is intumbarse, like to lie down on the ground, to lie on the floor. So lie has completely two significances, different significances, okay? And here it's the opposite of the truth. And plural with the S. This phrasal verb is very important to make up, okay? We have a few examples. To make up it up to you is number one. So to make it, this is like the problem. To make the problem up to you is to recompensate. So you do something bad to me, so you have a bad action to me, but you feel bad, so you want to recompensate and you make it up to me. You repay or recompensate. That's the first significance. The second significance, to make something up, is to invent or to lie. So I tell you a story and the story is completely fake, completely false, but I make up the story. So I invent the story. And remember, up is like creation and make is also creation. So to make up has the significance to invent, okay, to lie. Also with your face, you can put make up because you create a different face. That's the significance of make up. And the preposition, probably because it's at the bottom, you start here and you make up. Okay, so make up is for the face and for lie and invention. And the third significance is to repair or to fix a relationship. So if you have a bad moment in the relationship, you want to make up the relationship, to make it up. So it's a very flexible phrasal verb, and here it's the significance of invention or to make the lie. Okay, So why would I lie? Why would I make it up? Why would I invent the situation? Okay, very good example. And then he said, you had, and again the present perfect, so you have had because it started in the past, it's finished, but it's related to the moment because probably she continues to have the crush. Okay, and the specific word here is crush. The verb is to crush, typical with the can, the lata, the can of 7-Up or the can of Coca-Cola. After you finish the drink, you have the can and you crush the can. Okay, that's one significance, literal, but the second significance is more emotional and romantic. So if you like the person, you have a crush on the person. So to have a crush on the person is to admire and to really like the person. Okay, and that's the significance here. The boy thinks she had a crush on him. So the boy thinks she liked, and it's typical with on. Okay, enough. So enough is typically after the adjective. Are you happy enough in London? Are you tired enough to sleep? Are you hungry enough to eat? So the position of enough is typically after the adjective, but with the substantive we go before. Do you have enough time? Do you have enough chocolate? Do you have enough energy? So substantive, enough is before, but adjective, enough is after. And that's a little important, okay? And here it's the adjective, so it's after. And then another literal expression, but very typical as well, to not take no for an answer. Okay, so you will not take no. I say no, 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 but you don't believe me. You continue, you continue, you continue. You don't take no for an answer. So you don't accept. You continue, you continue. So it's a good expression, very typical in conversation, to not take no for an answer. Okay. And again, enough is after the adjective. I am old enough. Okay, happy enough, tired enough. Good. Underneath is a preposition, and it's a bit older, but really it has the same significance as under. So you have a problem, but underneath the problem is the cause or the reason. Okay, you have the table. Underneath the table is the football. So under the table, under the problem, underneath is a little more formal and a little older, but really it's almost the same as under. It's possible to say underneath and beneath. Okay, so they have the same significance. And I'll just put here underneath and beneath means below or under. Basically they are practically the same, and just to be aware and to be conscious of it. And here she says, I'm just a silly little girl underneath it all. So basically underneath the appearance, that's the significance. And again, adjective, careful, enough, after, position. Okay, good. Finally, this expression is very important. So so it's a conditional. If you imagined in the past that I was going to get down on one knee. So to get down is like movement or position, and one knee is part of the body, and you have to try and think of the significance. What do you think is the significance to get down on one knee? It's typical for marriage. When you propose marriage to a person and you offer marriage, typically the man or the woman can get down on one knee and show the ring. Okay, so the expression to get down on one knee has the significance to offer marriage or to get married. Okay, so that's the significance here. And to live happily ever after. Remember the verb to live, the pronunciation. Happily is the adverb, and ever after means always after. So if you live happily ever after, you are always happy after that moment. Typical in the book, at the beginning we say once upon a time in the book, and at the end everybody lived happily ever after. So it's a very typical expression. To break it to you, so it is the news or it is the situation, and to break it to you is basically to tell you the honest truth or to tell you the reality. It's very difficult truth, but I have to break it to you. I have to tell you the news. Typically in the news we say breaking news, so that's the context of the news or the situation, to break the situation to you. It's no big deal, the significance, it's no big problem, it's no big situation. It's very common in conversation. I broke my telephone, but it's no big deal because I have another telephone. So it's no big problem is the significance. Okay, And then the verb to get rid of is very, very common and very important. So to get rid of something has the significance to throw away. Okay, and we had an example already of the throw away. But to get rid of is extremely common and extremely important, and it means to throw away. Okay, so I have my mobile phone and I want to get rid of my mobile phone. I want to throw away. Okay, and very, very important expression. And I think that's the end of the video. Again, shall is the modal. It's a little more formal. The significance is will I or should I. So shall is more formal and more polite. So he speaks very well. The boy is speaking very, very well. And then to sort, the verb to sort is to organize. So to sort the problem is to organize the problem. You have a difficulty and you want to sort the problem or to sort it out. The phrasal verb to sort out is to solve the problem or to fix the problem. Okay, so to sort it or to sort out the problem is very, very important. It means to organize or to find a solution. Okay, so really to organize or to find a solution. The same significance. Also with sort, it's the same significance as type or kind. What sort of coffee do you want? What sort of chocolate do you like? What type of coffee? What type of chocolate? What kind? So sort, type and kind are all very, very similar. Okay, and that's it. So now I will play the video and I will show the script at the same time, and hopefully you can hear everything with the audio, and hopefully it's a little easier this time. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning, and 2 minutes and you can check the script. Okay, good luck.
Jamie?
Abby, I'm sorry that I was so harsh yesterday.
It's fine.
But you'll get over this in time. Eventually you'll realise, like me, that it was just a stupid mistake. You'll be glad nothing came of it.
I'm pregnant. Jamie, I'm pregnant. Walk away from me.
I don't want to say something I might regret.
I'm more upset about this than you, believe me.
Just go away, okay? I'm not interested in your lies.
What? Why would I make it up?
I don't know, because you've had some teenage crush on me that I was stupid enough to reciprocate for one night, and now you won't take no for an answer.
Who do you think you're talking to?
A silly little girl.
Oh, so I'm old enough to sleep with? But I'm just a silly little girl underneath it all. What does that make you, huh?
We were careful.
Yeah, well, not careful enough, clearly.
But things like this happen all the time.
Not to me, it doesn't. Look, you haven't even asked me how I feel about it.
I don't care how you feel. If you're imagining that I was going to get down on one knee and we were going to live happily ever after, then I'm sorry to break it to you, but we live in the real world now. Gabby, it's only been a few weeks. Okay, it's no big deal. We can get rid of it. Okay, so can I leave you to organise that, or should I?
Yeah, I'll sort it. Like you said. It's no big deal.
Right.
Okay, well done. So I hope that the explanation the second time was a bit easier and you could understand everything. Probably you're very tired now, so thank you very much for the class. Remember, everything is free and I'm really happy to teach. If you want to make a small donation or a small contribution, it's possible by Revolut. That's the telephone number or the contact number by Revolut. If you want to donate maybe €1 or €2, it would be a very big help for me. Or Bizum in Spain, or PayPal. There's possibilities by PayPal. It's an option and it would help me very much, because probably in the future I will need your support. But if you want to make a contribution, thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who has helped already. It's a big support for me. So that's a possibility. And now if there's somebody waiting in the chat, possibly we can continue with a chat. No, I think we've lost everybody. Although we had Skype, so let me check Skype. and I can see if this person wants to participate. It's possible they have gone or they have forgotten, but Piroska, let me see, if you're ready we can have a chat. And I think maybe they are gone. If you are ready we can chat, and that's one possibility. If this person does not connect, that could be the end of the class, but maybe it's my connection, it's a little bit slow. But yeah, that's the summary of today. So we had the introduction document, we had the analysis of the book, and then we also had the analysis of the video, and then we had some great conversation with Kathy from Peru in London, and hopefully tomorrow we can continue with more people if you want to participate, maybe 2 together to have a conversation, and that's a possibility. Okay, maybe I'll call, I don't know if I should call the person. Okay, super. So that is sufficient I think for today. I'll just check the screen again. Nobody's waiting. So thank you so much. Have a great day, and thank you for connecting to the class if you're watching live or on the video. And